Well, here we are, back on track with the podcast, episode 9, Steroids and Cheating. It's been a little while coming. Went on to social media about a week or so ago, and I asked the simple question to everybody else out there because I wanted honest feedback. And the question was, is taking steroids considered cheating? And the answer by the voting process, steroids were considered cheating. So, to unpack this here a little bit, it depends. Okay? And we're going to get further into this right now. But the reason why it depends is because it depends on the sport. Now, obviously, if you play professional baseball, professional football, hockey, basketball, whatever, there's strict regulations that are in place to prevent people from cheating, right? And that's taking steroids. Now, this has been a highly contested subject for many, many years. And Jose Canseco kind of blew the top off of this whole thing with his book, Juiced. Jose was honest. You got to give him credit for being honest. He was so upfront and he was so real about what goes on behind the scenes that most people just have no idea about. You play baseball, you play football in the professional leagues. Taking steroids is considered cheating because not every single person on the field that you're playing against is taking steroids or will take steroids or has taken steroids or is willing to take steroids. There's a lot of things that play into that. You've got Frank Grillo, who's a popular actor in his 60s. Frank has come out and openly said that he takes testosterone. I mean, he's a 60-year-old man. Now, because Frank is on testosterone, he's an actor and he wants to remain in good health and take care of his endocrine system. Does that mean he's cheating? I would love to see the argument for that he is cheating, because I see that as just a 60-year-old man who wants to live an optimal lifestyle. Frank Grillo taking testosterone considered cheating? No. Jose Canseco taking multiple steroids while he's playing baseball considered cheating? Sure, one can make an argument for that, because not everybody else on that baseball field is taking steroids. Now, let's take this into consideration. Let's go to the stage of bodybuilding. The NPC and the IFBB do not test for steroids. I've got a couple different outlooks on this. Number one, I love it because it's no holds barred. It's go for it. You do what you do. You go after what you want. You want to take a bunch of gear, you take a bunch of gear. It's your life. My body, my choice, right? So I like it for a lot of reasons. But then it gets a little risky. It gets dangerous when you take a sport that's a professional sport. Athletes are making substantial amounts of money once they reach the professional level, and you have no regulations. There's no limits. So you've got a young man, let's say, who is in his early 20s, and all he wants is to be number one. And if you told him at 21 that, hey, if you do these steroids, if you do these stacks, if you take all this gear, you may, die 10 years earlier than you normally would have. Or, it may do X, Y, and Z to your system. It may decrease your life expectancy by however many years. Most 21-year-olds are going to take that glory over that because they're 21. They're not thinking about the big picture quite yet. They're not thinking about longevity quite yet. So it gets dangerous in the sport of bodybuilding because there's no regulation. So that means a young man who has zero self-discipline when it comes to this kind of stuff, and he's not thinking longevity. He's just thinking, I want to win the gold. I want to be Chris Bumstead. Okay, all he's thinking is that. He's not thinking about the long-term effects here. So that's what it can get a little dicey. With no regulations, and the sport of bodybuilding is kind of a haven for people who are picked on, people who come from abusive households, people who have something they're trying to overcome. And a lot of the time, you couple that with drugs, it could be a lethal combination. So it's always important to look at these things and look at the big picture. And like I always tell everybody, especially when it comes to bodybuilding, is there's a big difference between use and abuse. But again, I didn't get into the sport until I was 38. I was 38 years old before I stepped on stage, so I already had a lot of life experience, and I already knew a lot about Hollywood and drug use and drug abuse and my dad and all these things. My dad was a drug addict, so I got to see a lot of this stuff up close and personal. So I it left a very lasting impression on me. The the long term effects that drugs can have on you. It's not a black or a white thing when it comes to is taking steroids considered cheating, or is it not cheating? The best way to look at this is it just depends. Okay, if you're in the Olympics and you're training in all these Olympic programs, obviously there's a very strict program of no no steroid use. It's very strict. Professional sports, soccer, baseball, etc. It's all the same thing. But like I said, once you go into the professional arena of bodybuilding, it's different. Take professional wrestling. I don't know if they still try to regulate steroid use and abuse in the WWE, but I could take one look at any of those guys and I could tell you if they're on something or not. Most of the time, it's usually pretty obvious, especially if they're, you know, like a John Cena or Batista or The Rock. I mean, these guys are obviously on gear of some sort. So the key takeaway when it comes to this subject is if you don't know about it, if you don't have any education on steroids, if you don't know anything about these compounds, then it's probably not smart to make that judgment of, oh, it's cheating or whatever. Because there's a lot of different steroids that were developed and are in use to help people. And not just to help athletes, but to help people who have muscle wasting, to help older people who lose bone mass density, to help people with low testosterone. There's even women who get TRT these days. It's like it's not a it's not such a taboo thing that it once was. And you get athletes like Mike O'Hearn, who claims to be claims to be a lifelong natty. And I'm not even going to get into that with about him. I think Mike's awesome. And regardless, I could tell you if if I think he's running steroids or has run steroids or not, and it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Like I'm in this world. I understand what these drugs can do. I understand what they can help. And I also understand that it doesn't replace anything. If you take steroids, it doesn't replace hard work. Like I've said before, steroids are the only drug that that you take, and you have to work harder. You work hard in the gym. That's what we do. But when you take steroids, it's like shit. I want to get everything I can get out of this stack. So I'm going to go harder. And yes, you can go longer because you're pumping a synthetic form of testosterone or trenbolone or D-bol or whatever it is you're pumping into your system. It's going to help you. It's going to push you further. It's going to help you push further. But a lot of it is mental. So back to Mike O'Hearn, I think that Mike is a fucking freak. No matter what anybody says, no matter what kind of shit anybody wants to talk about Mike and his natty or not shit, he's a freak. And you got to give the man respect because he works his ass off. And there is no substitution for hard work. So I'm not even going to get into any whatever arguments about natty or not about Mike. He's just a freak. And I've got nothing but respect for the man and everything he's accomplished in his life and his career. So you take somebody like Mike O'Hearn, take somebody like Barry Bonds, take somebody like Jose Canseco, Mark McGuire, you know, here's the deal. You've got millions upon millions upon millions of dollars on the line. Guys are going to do whatever it takes to continue to make that money. It's human nature. So if you give guys an opportunity to make that kind of money, you also have to deal with the ramifications of the negative side of that, which is they want to continue to make that amount of money for as long as they can. Because we all know that our shelf life in professional sports it can be a very short-lived window. There's always going to be some kind of workaround. We're always going to try to find a workaround. We're always going to try to find a fast-acting drug that gets in your system quick, gives you that quick pump, muscle twitch fibers, and then it's out of your system quick, so you can get around the testing. It's not going to stop. Steroids are not going to stop. It's only going to increase, and the availability is only going to increase, and the new development of workarounds and fast acting and in and out of your system quick. All these things it's just going to increase because we have millions upon millions upon millions of dollars on the line. And that's just the way humans work. So it's not something that's going to go away. Asking the question, is taking steroids considered cheating? It depends on the circumstance, okay? Overall, I'm going to say my answer is no. What's the percentage of the population that is professional athletes? It's a very small percentage. The percentage of the population that is an actual professional athlete is very small. The percentage of the population that takes steroids that's not an athlete, that's a much larger percentage than the ones that are in professional sports. There's a lot of people in a lot of different industries that take steroids, Hollywood being the most prominent. And I didn't know it back in the day because I wasn't really too aware until I started dancing. And when I was dancing and they would ship us out to Vegas, most of those guys that I danced with, they were taking, I didn't know what the fuck trend meant. Trenbolone. I was like, I don't even know what that is. I thought it was a vitamin. But most of the guys I was dancing with, they were on something. So it just depends. You know, there's dancers that are going to be on steroids. There's everybody, bartenders. I mean, in Hollywood, it's so common. So the industry is one thing. Obviously, the gym culture is another thing, and then professional sports is another thing. And there's just everyday people who wanna feel good. And that's when you that's when you get your TRT. You know, you get your small dose, 100 mgs. Maybe it's 200 mgs a week of testosterone that you get from your doctor. Is that considered cheating? If dad's 70 and he's got really low testosterone, like down in the 200s, and he wants to live an optimal life for the last 8 to 10 years that he can be on this planet, God willing, is he cheating? Is he cheating death? These are the questions that I would ask somebody who says that taking steroids is cheating, because ultimately it's not. Everything except for professional sports, taking steroids is not considered cheating. It's what it is considered is living an optimal lifestyle, because that is what's important for most people in this population, because our population, let's just face the facts, are out of shape, unhealthy, and fucking obese. Okay? So maybe this is the first step in the right direction for everybody to get on some fucking TRT. Educate yourself on the subject. Understand that the population of professional athletes that may or may not be taking steroids is very, very small compared to everybody else who does. And who knows? Maybe one day the professional sports will open it up like bodybuilding and everybody will be on gear. Who the fuck knows? All I know is steroids is not cheating. And we'll leave it at that.